All right, cool. And there we are, man. This is crazy, crazy. We have some stuff to talk about. This is nuts. This is insane. I'm Kevin. Joining me is Christian. How you doing, man?
What's up?
Good. Not much, man. Not much. I'm just still kind of like wrapping my head around this bombshell. So as many people may have heard, I remember, it wasn't even that like it was that long ago. It was last night. We were hanging out on our couch, just relaxing, just chilling, vibing. I'm scrolling on my phone, and I'm like, I see this headline pop up that Bob Iger is the new CEO of Disney, and I'm like, wait, like what is happening here? Is this like some sort of like, old article or something from 2020 something, whatever, from early 2000s?
Right.
But no, it was from last night. It was from the Hollywood Reporter, which was another sign that it was real. And the big news is that Bob Chapek, Chapek, I
Chapek?
believe,
Chapek?
Chapek, I think,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
has
gonna go with
stepped
Chapek.
down. It's Chapek
Yeah.
has stepped down, or I mean, we don't really have details exactly what happened. As far as we know, he stepped down, and effective today, Monday, November 21st, Bob Iger is back in the reign of CEO of Disney. Um, the bombshell, to say the least, totally unexpected. I don't think anyone really knew what to make of the news at the time. What did you think when you heard about it? What were your thoughts?
Same. Like this is what is happening. Like this old news. A lot of people were like, this has to be an April Fool's. Or like, bro, it's
That's what I
November.
thought.
So the first that we heard was that an email went out to cast members from Bob Iger personally, and it was just like, hey, I just want to like let you guys know I'm taking over CEO, whatever. And even cast members were like, this, what is this? Like
Yeah.
everybody had to confirm, like, is this actually like going on? I think some people were going public with it. And I think that was like the first bit of like breaking news, or at least how like the news broke.
Right.
Um, but so like Dana immediately was like, what, like, obviously we don't know what happened, but this is where speculation is just gonna come into
Yeah.
play. She feels like she's like, I like it feels like Chapek was forced to resign, right? Like he was forced
Absolutely.
to step down. Because it wouldn't happen this quickly, right? This abruptly.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for that. And I know one of like we first heard it from YouTube, Chris Provost
Okay.
Park
Yeah.
Pass, who we just met for the first time last week on
Really?
the in the parks. So
That's
guy,
awesome.
the nicest guy. But yeah, he went on live on YouTube and was reporting, and we were like, what? There's another like Disney YouTuber. I wouldn't
Yeah.
especially call him a Disney YouTuber, but Adam the Woo, he's like one of our
Okay.
favorite YouTubers. He was talking about last week how he just recently invested into Disney stock, and he showed a chart and how like Disney stock has been dropping,
Hmm.
right? And it dropped low enough for him to like feel like it was a good time for him to invest. I think it was like at 74 bucks per share.
It was,
And
yeah.
yeah, so kind of obviously putting two and two together, obviously Disney wasn't happy with Chapek's performance. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, I mean, obviously a lot of people weren't, not just,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah, no,
a corporation's a corporation, right? They need to make money. They have to do what they have to do to survive. Um, I do feel like it's, so Chapek comes in 2020 after Bob Iger retires.
literally a month before the beginning
Literally a month.
of
Yeah.
the pandemic.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're talking about facts, like he pretty much had an impossible task, right?
Right.
Like a new CEO coming in during the pandemic, like what do you do? Like this guy, I mean, I do kind of feel bad for him, especially at that moment. But
Right.
it was like, he got through it. He pulled the parks through. He pulled everyone through the best of his ability. But the way he did a lot of the stuff,
Yes.
he the way he placed kind of, portrayed Disney's future was like he had no idea what was going on. Like it really felt like he had no plan. He had a basic blueprint of what they were doing, but he didn't really have any idea what they were going to do. Even you go back to D23 of his first D23, which was this year. And I think it's probably the most disappointing D23 I've ever seen,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to theme parks, specifically the parks, because there was not a lot of progress. There was not a lot of saying, hey, we're going to be doing this. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's fresh. It's going to be cool. We're going to compete with Universal Studios in this way, right? Like we're going to build we're going to use these IPs. We're going to do this. Instead, what we got was, well, what's behind Big Thunder Mountain? like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these things. And he didn't have a vision, with Iger, or his whole tenure. He obviously had a vision for the company. He knew where he was headed. Under his reign, they purchased Marvel. They purchased Star Wars. They, started Disney Plus. All these things seem to be part of a plan, right? To integrate more into the theme parks, integrate more, especially specifically into Disney Plus, right? Obviously, Marvel is a huge factor of that now. Star Wars is a huge factor of that now. And you got to think that's kind of been part of the plan the whole time. And even with their purchase of 20th Century Fox, they even admitted that The Simpsons was like a huge get for them to be able to put on Disney Plus. And that's obviously the differences. One of the big differences between the two is the kind of the eye towards the future, kind of like the Walt Disney. Walt Disney was always, his quote about, Disneyland will never be completed as long as there's imagination in the world. That seemed to be kind of Bob Iger in a way. He seemed to have that mentality. Like, there's so many possibilities, so much to do. We're going to do it. Like, this is what we're going to do. Let's make this happen.
It really felt like with Chapek's tenure, like he was there, 2.5, 3/4 years.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot of the big things that he did were really reactionary as opposed to like progressively like moving things forward.
Absolutely.
I didn't really even know Chapek's name until all that stuff with Peter Rice happened. And then like, that's when I was like, wait, what is happening over there? Like, he fired Peter Rice, who was another executive that everybody apparently was beloved, but who was also kind of up for CEO.
And that's who he replaced with, gosh, I just had his name. My buddy Brandon had just posted a link. I think he replaced him with Kareem Daniel, who was kind of this other gentleman who kind of followed in the path of Chapek. He kind of, destroyed a lot. I don't want to say destroyed, but he was kind of in charge in a lot of the streaming stuff, a lot of the digital media stuff. But anyways, go ahead.
I mean, that's kind of what Chapek was doing. He was just putting a lot of his like, it seemed like he was just like creating these I don't know, jobs and positions for people to kind of place his friends within the company. Like a lot, like what he walked into was, like you said, it was not easy.
It's an impossible task.
And it was an impossible task that he did not have control over. But the stuff that he did have control over was kind of disastrous. You know what I mean? Like, that was like one big red flag after another. The whole situation with the Black Widow and Scarlett Johansson, right? Like, wait to like, just, it was supposed to be a big send off. Like, she's one of your like key characters, if not one of like your biggest actors, that you have under like the Disney thing, and they totally did her dirty. You know what I mean? It's like this. I mean, I know like all the stuff happened at Warner Brothers too with HBO Max and releasing too many movies directly to that, and it was just a mess. We didn't know what we were doing. It was the pandemic, but I think there were obviously ways that could have been handled better. And I don't know. And here's the thing: Bob Iger wasn't perfect either. But at least I from what I hear, he owns up. He says, like, Solo was a mistake and that was my fault. And I for one don't absolutely hate that movie. It was a lot.
Me neither.
Yeah,
Me neither.
It was fine. But I've heard people say the biggest mistake that Iger made was hiring Chapek as his replacement.
And it's true. I mean, just hiring Chapek. I mean, as we know, Chapek was the head of the parks division before he got promoted to CEO.
Right.
But under his tenure, Disney had spent the most money they had ever spent on, new lands, new experiences, things like that, which isn't a bad thing, right?
Right.
So it's hard to say if it was actually Chapek or if it was Iger. allotting him all that money to be able to do what he wanted to do.
I mean, they're famously like his whole statement about that, like Disneyland has too many undesirables. And it's funny because obviously everybody was like, they're talking about pass holders. Clearly, you're talking about
Right.
like magic holders. Like it was so awesome because like the weeks after that, people made shirts that just said in the
I love that. That's
Disneyland font,
great.
like the undesirables. I'm like, oh dude, I want to get one of those
It
too.
is fantastic.
But like, yeah, the whole GD plus, the reservation thing. He talked about, he was like, there's no way for us to limit the parks, and the best way for us to do it is just to raise prices, because eventually people will get priced out. That's how we can control entrances. I'm like, you can just turn off the reservation, like you can
Easy.
control, like it's not, you don't have to raise prices, you're
I've
screwing.
seen Disney like reach capacity and they shut it down.
Yeah,
Like no one else in. Like
yeah,
it's not very hard.
right.
And
Yeah, I think like it's just kind of like the fact that he was so open about it, you know what I mean? And then he's just kind of, it's almost as if like, what are they gonna do? I'm right. Like people will get like priced out, you know what I mean? Um, People want to come. That's just what it is.
yeah, and it's not just the theme parks, right? It's just the company as a whole. So even the movies, like you brought up Black Widow earlier. But when he was talking at D23 and he was talking about how basically animated kids movies are for kids and the adults are going to watch what they want to watch after the kids have gone to bed. This was the quote. I always say that when parents put their kids to bed at night after watching an animated film, they're probably not going to tune into another animated movie. They want something for them. And to me, that's troublesome because this is a company that's built on the back of animated movies, right? Like animated films are what people love about it. And basically saying like, adults just don't care about animated movies. Like, listen, I know it's not a big deal for a lot of people. Some adults don't care for animated movies because there's that stigma, often around it being for kids, but he played into that stigma.
No, yeah,
And
exactly.
I feel like that was a really horrible thing to do. And you know what fascinates me? So there's a movie coming out Wednesday, Disney's big animated film this year.
Yeah.
So obviously we know it's coming out. I know some people know it's coming out, but for the most part, I've heard absolutely like no hype, no like excitement. I haven't seen, Frozen 3 comes out and suddenly there's billboards everywhere and it's like a big, ABC specials and like all these things, this is coming out without a peep, and that kind of worries me a little bit. And obviously that was kind of done under Chapek, Chapek's rule, because I just don't think he cares about animated films, which is, I mean, I don't know him. I don't know much about him, but that's what kind of seems to me. And it just seems insane that this huge budget movie is getting no promotion whatsoever.
So Straw Hat Goofy talked about that on
Oh, did he?
TikTok.
Okay.
And he mentioned, he was like, it's like they're clearly just like releasing this to die, right? Like there's no marketing for it, like minimal to no marketing for it.
There isn't.
And really historically Disney has a past of like Atlantis, I think, or Treasure Planet kind of was the same thing. They just kind of let it go, let it release, and knowing that it was going to fail. But like not giving it the support that it needed. So his theory was, so I don't want to take credit for this, but his theory was,
no, please.
Because he saw it, he was invited to the premiere. One of the main characters is openly gay.
Yeah, heard about that, which is amazing.
Right, which great. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And there he was saying like they don't know how to market it, or like Chapek's afraid of it, or he doesn't want to alienate like conservative the fan base. But like then why do it? You know what I mean? Like why go through the trouble of like somebody had to sit there and animate, somebody had to design, somebody had to voice this thing, you know what I mean? Like it's not like there's a lot of like hurdles that you have to go through to make this happen, and now they're like getting cold feet. If that's the case,
it's a huge possibility. And I think, there was a whole thing, I don't know if you followed it at all, but the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida,
right?
That was a big thing. And Disney was the biggest factor. They were talking about when they were trying to ban trans people from using the bathrooms, right? There's the bathroom bill. Disney just basically said, no, we're not supporting this. And the bill died. Like the bill was dead. Like there was nothing they can, after like a company like Disney comes up and says, hey, we're not supporting this. And Disney didn't do that. They kind of did it in a weird, like kind of towards the end of the debacle, you know, and they were kind of PR cleaning up and stuff like that. They were like, oh no, we don't support this. We're just going to support it in a different way by using our stories to show diversity and what the company's about. And that's just kind of, I hate to say this, but that's just kind of the coward that Chapek is and was. He just didn't really have any, he had his morals, and I kind of feel like a lot of him apologizing for it was just the pushback he was getting. I don't think he would have apologized unless, you know, unless he was getting that pushback and getting that kind of, you know, from, because these are big bills, right? Like this is super, super important stuff that Iger would have got in front of it and said something like almost right away, you know. And again, I agree with you. Iger's not perfect. Is any CEO perfect anymore?
No,
you know, like none of them are. But I feel like they're dealing with, they're playing with fire in a way, you know, they were at least with Chapek. And not promoting a movie because there's a possible, you know, because there is a gay character, an openly gay character. That just kind of sends the wrong message to me, at least, you know, to families and kids, you know, who want to see that. Again, it goes into the representation thing, right? Like, you know, I'm a, you know, theoretically, I'm a gay teenager. I have no, you know, no compass as to what I should, you know, I don't see anything like me. But then I see this movie that could change my life, right? Like, here's a character that is me. It's just like me. And I don't think Chapek cared about that. And then there's all these things about Disney, you know, and then you get it from the conservatives too, right? Because they say that Disney's too PC. And after they did stand up against the Florida bill, finally, there was all these accusations of being, you know, groomers and like all these things. And it's like, y'all just need to chill out. First of all, the biggest thing that gets, you know, they're still changing Splash Mountain, right? Princess and the Frog, like that's always happening. People still complaining about that. I had one comment on one of my posts talking about how, well, maybe Iger will bring back Splash Mountain. And I'm like, dude, like Iger was the one who said, yeah, let's turn Splash Mountain.
You got it all mixed up, buddy.
Like, dude, you got it all mixed up. It's just, it doesn't work that way. And you know, Iger was the man who did it. And I'm glad he's there, because he's gonna bring that representation back. He's not afraid to put his foot down and say, hey, we should, you know, this movie has a gay character, great, fantastic. Let's get it out there. Let's tell people, you know, let's talk to the Advocate magazine. Let's get all these things happening, you know.
Exactly. I am glad that at least because so it's only for 2 years. Right. Like that's the whole plan. But, you know, hopefully we can just kind of reset the direction that Disney's going. And like when I say he's not perfect, it's still far better than what we got from Chapek, in my opinion. You know, like I heard a lot. One of the early complaints right away when they announced that Iger was coming back was like, but he was responsible for the sequel trilogy. And I'm like, yeah. You know, but like swing and a miss. At least he's swinging, you know.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Like, you have Star Wars. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
like you're gonna make a sequel trilogy, and whether and listen, my fan culture is. I don't want this to turn into a tangent, and I apologize for this.
But
it's like to me, it's like you want to make something better. You want to do something better. Go do it. Like, you think that like, well, like, and I know people don't have resources, and they're, you know, these things are such a big part of our culture and our childhoods and things like that, that it is super important to us. I get that. But it's either you want, you know, when Force Awakens came out, it was too close to Star Wars, to A New Hope, right? It was just a duplicate of it. Last Jedi comes out, totally just kind of goes off the, you know, the path, does its own thing. Suddenly it's too different. And then of course,
but what do you want? What do you people want?
What do you want, guys? Like, what do you want? Like, you're going to get what you're going to get. And that's my thing. I used to, so I'm not going to lie. I used to I used to get upset. So when Michael Bay did his Ninja Turtles movie, I was like, bro, like this is not Ninja Turtles. What are you doing? Like, I didn't get it. I was like, this is stupid. Like, this isn't Ninja Turtles. Why are you doing this? But then I'm like, oh yeah, I still have the original on Blu-ray. I still
Right.
have the original cartoons. This changes nothing. People can pretend like the sequel trilogy just doesn't exist. And that's cool
Yeah.
because you still got your series.
Exactly. Yeah.
And but anyways, that's besides the point. But yeah, Iger was responsible for it. But again, he was doing something with it. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't just
Exactly.
letting it sit there and just
That's
rot.
the point that I like, even if it wasn't the direction I wanted to go,
Right.
he was still taking it into a direction, and that's the
Yeah,
thing that matters. He's also, we got the MCU running with Iger. You know what I mean? Like he
absolutely.
did a lot for that. You know what I mean? People have said that with Chapek in charge now, like they're starting to do too much, like they're asking too much of the MCU and of Feige. And hopefully like maybe we could slow it down a little bit and maybe like just focus on less projects. And I don't know. I don't
One
know
movie,
how.
one movie a year, one show a year. I'd be totally
Yeah,
cool with that.
I would go 2 movies, 1 show.
Okay, yeah, no, that's
I'd be
fair.
happy with that.
That's fair. But then
But
you hear
like,
all the VFX, drama with all the people working till the,
yeah.
like the very last. Like that's terrible. So yeah, two
So
movies
like,
here.
yeah, we keep it down, and then that's plenty of time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you could have like better quality effects, better quality, like quality just all around gets better. It just
Absolutely.
don't improve. So hopefully that's something that they can see. I know like their idea is just to saturate the market and like look at there's Marvel for everybody, right? Like
Mhm.
there's something that's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
make everybody happy. But if you're trying to make everybody happy, you're gonna alienate people too. So
right.
and you're also just gonna lose quality. So we saw that this year. We had 3 TV series like on Disney Plus. Then we had 3 movies.
It's
So there's
insane.
6 projects like in a year, which is it's you're spreading it too thin. So
Yeah.
ah,
So I'm curious, do you think so you know, again, I've had people commenting and stuff all day on my post about it. Do you think did you ever get the feeling from the start that Chapek was just kind of a temporary until they can find somebody else? Like, did you ever feel like, he's just here just to manage what's happening now until we find a temporary replacement?
I
Uh, I know it's a weird question, but a lot of people did feel that way from the very start. They're
right.
like, okay, like because he was put in place like right as the pandemic hit, right? So like he becomes CEO, pandemic becomes bigger, becomes a thing. It's kind of like one of those things where like Iger was going to retire still, but he wanted to find someone. I was it kind of a rush job. He needed to find someone now to take care of this situation going down. You know what I'm saying? Um,
yeah, I
did
get
you ever
that.
get that feeling? Or I mean, if not, that's totally cool. That's just what I've been, people have been commenting, and I was just wondering if you ever felt like that.
I mean, I don't know that I outright felt that way, but like Chapek never
Okay.
felt right. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he never felt like Iger felt, or like, and there was just so much stuff happening that it was just you didn't want it. And obviously, like, Disney eventually put their foot down too and was like, no, this isn't working out.
Mhm.
So I'm sure he gets like a huge severance
Oh
package.
yeah, like dude never has to work again in his life. Like
No,
I'm sure,
no.
like easily. Um,
Um, so but yeah,
yeah, no,
I think like for all of what Walt stood for, and like all of like the steps that Disney was taking leading up to Chapek, I think the fact that there's stock price was like dropping is just like a big tell.
right, right.
And it was kind of progressively dropping over the last like not more than a year. You know what I mean? Like since he took over. So
No, yeah, it's funny too because yesterday earlier in the day I had run across like how sometimes you'll get those like kind of weird like just clickbaity articles like from like some random Disney website. Like I have those all over my Facebook,
right.
and one of them came up and it was like insiders say like Bob Iger uh you know talks doesn't talk or talks badly about Chapek behind his back to his peers and stuff like that, and I was like, this is all just like mumbo jumbo
Yeah,
BS. And
because
literally like 2 hours later I see that Iger has replaced Chapek. And I'm like, whoa, like maybe it is true.
Yeah.
But speaking of, you were talking about Walt Disney, you all got to check out Mickey, the Story of a Mouse on Disney Plus. Such a great documentary. Highly, highly recommended. It made me cry. It'll make you cry.
I gotta check it out. I gotta check it out. We just came back from the park,
Yes.
like right before we started recording. And we have our passes. We live about 25 minutes from the park. So I don't know that, like I don't know what the general public knows. And like, is it just like people that are like in this entertainment bubble or this Disney bubble that know about the whole thing? Because like if I was to stop somebody like, hey, did you hear about Bob Chapek and like Bob Iger taking over? They'd be like, who's it? What's it now? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that the average person, that Disney goer, would know. Maybe not. Again, it's hard for me to judge because I'm too deep into it. But
I think, yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think all you have to do is tell them to look. Chapek was the guy who took away fast passes.
Yeah, exactly.
Is making you pay $40 for each person to ride Rise of the Resistance again, with your family. $40 a piece. I'm just being, that's just a number I'm throwing out there, but it feels like it. Like those are the insane changes he made at the parks too.
I was kind of hoping, like going on our way to the park, like it was going to be like the beginning of the Wizard of Oz, where like the houses dropped on the witch and like people were dancing the streets. We represent the lollipop. But it was just a normal day at Disneyland. So
that's cool. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I don't think the average person cares, to be honest, as long as the park stays open and as long as they really.
I mean, they'll care when the policies change like that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Policies changed enough, and it kept on going. You know what I mean? Like. Mm-hmm. But if there was a reason for park goers to know his name, it's probably for negative reasons,
Absolutely. So, yeah.
But we'll see. The question is now, how quickly will changes happen? For the parks, for the movies.
I think. I mean, judging from this kind of changeover and how quickly it went, I think Iger is really like he's already like reorganizing everything and firing people. Having people step down.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen really quickly. Obviously, not by the end of the year, maybe within a year or so, we're going to start seeing some pretty big changes at the parks for the better. I think I can't say obviously, Fast Pass is coming back or anything like that. I don't know. And I don't know if Disney would want to miss out on that revenue if it's going well.
Right.
But I think a lot of because I know a lot of people were locked out of renewing their Magic or their passes and stuff. Maybe that stuff will open up more. There'll be more benefits for people to have season passes or year pass. What are they calling them now? I'm sorry.
They're for Disneyland. They're Magic passes. Okay. I don't know what they call them at WDW.
I think it's Magic Pass too. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I watch a bunch of those YouTubers too. I can't remember
Magic.
What they call
I think it's Magic Key.
Magic Key. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the Magic
what
Key.
It is.
And so I think there might be more incentives coming back to make people want to, to be able to not only be able to renew them, but to want to renew them, because a lot of people have become disenchanted with the whole system. Like
I will say, we've been pass holders since it's been like 8 years straight. Okay, we've had them, and like there's a definite change. Mm-hmm. Like leading up to the pandemic and then post-pandemic, there's been like definite changes, and I think with like the whole like Genie Plus things, it's kind of changed things, because there was always like, well, there's always going to be like Winnie the Pooh, you can jump on 5 minutes, it's a 5-minute line, right? Or like certain rides here and there, but like it's gotten to the point now because certain rides cost money, right? Or if you want to like ride it, it's gonna, if you want to go for like a reasonable like line, it's going to cost you a little bit of money for the Genie Plus. So then like so people have just migrated over to those like the baby rides or like the shorter line rides. So now nothing is short.
Really?
Like everything is just a long wait no matter what. Like we need to like 45 minutes.
Do not tell me that Ariel's Undersea Adventure is longer than 10 minutes, because
it's longer than 10 minutes. It's
so insane.
I think if you're lucky and you're there at the right time, you'll find it for 10 minutes. But like even that line, like that's supposed to be a walk-on.
Yeah, every time. So we did that, you know, when we were living down in California, we had annual passes for about 5 years.
Right.
Every time we'd go, those were the two rides, the rides you mentioned, especially Little Mermaid and Winnie the Pooh were always
Right.
just walk-ons. You know, you
Yeah.
could just get right on, especially Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
When we went to Disney World this past year, and I think this is just the difference between the parks because Magic Kingdom is just laid out differently. But the Little Mermaid ride was an hour wait, like an hour and a half wait, and the Winnie the Pooh was 45 minutes. But we thought that was just kind of normal, you know, par for the course for that park,
Right.
which I heard it was. But that's kind of shocking to hear that even at Disneyland, it's become like that. That's insane.
So like I think one of the big things, and like I'm gonna going back to it when Chapek referred to magic key holders as undesirables. Like I get it from that standpoint that I think their theory was that the pass holders were the people that were coming in but not spending money.
Right.
Right. And you know, he was trying to figure out a way to make Disneyland as profitable as WDW in Florida. Like he was trying to make it like, but I think the thing that he'll never understand was that Disneyland is a local park,
It
right? And
is.
so
It is.
it's very much like for like locals mostly. Like people, Florida, no offense, Orlando, but that's all there is. Like who's going to Orlando not for who's going to visit Orlando for not for, you know, if they're
Well,
not
you're
going to
for
the
the theme
parks,
parks in
yeah,
general. Yeah.
right. But if you're not going, nobody's gonna like, oh, they have like a great like Wingstop place here. I like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason why people go to Orlando. So it's
Yeah.
like very tourist heavy. There is more than enough reasons to come to Southern California. If
Right.
like a lot of tourists will come here and never even go to Disneyland.
Right.
Right. Disneyland is just one of many the wonderful things that you can do here in Southern California. So like really, and like Adam the Woo was talking about it too. Like, you know, there's a lot of these like these group like organized things that'll happen, whether it's like Life Day at Galaxy's Edge or like, you know what I mean, like Dapper Day, or you know what I mean, like these big events that happen at Disneyland because it's a locals park. It's pass holders, it's people returning, not just like people from out of town.
I got you. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, I think it's just like Chapek is kind of like trying to ruin that. And that would be such a shame because like that's always kind of what Disneyland
That's
is.
part of the magic of Disneyland. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like I said, we've experienced both now, which is incredible. Oh, excuse me, I had something in my throat for a second, which was incredible. But Disney World definitely felt like the touristy park, right? It definitely felt like the people from all over the world were there, you know, which was incredible. You know, it was a really cool experience. I'm not, you know, not knocking any of that, but it is like yeah, I completely agree with what you said. Like Disneyland always kind of had that local kind of feel to it, you know, especially when you can just drive there on a, you know, you live 20 minutes away. We used to live in North Hollywood, so it wasn't really close, but it was at least like an hour drive, you know? So like, you know, we'd be able to get there in an hour, and it always kind of had that really cool, like it almost seemed like that local secret, right? Like, you know, you go to, and like, even though it's Disneyland and everyone knows what it is, but it had that kind of vibe to it. And yeah, I'd hate to see it kind of turn into that big tourist trap, you know, that Walt Disney World is. And I hope under Iger that it's not, again, it's corporate. They're going to make money somehow. So, I mean, you know, and a lot of these changes people were talking about with Chapek, they were like, well, the park needs to make money. The park needs to keep their money. And I'm like, yeah, the park is still making a lot of money.
Yeah, they're fine.
Like they're fine. They don't need to charge all this for this, or, you know, you don't, it's like every experience at the park is now a paid experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't just go to the park and experience the magic. You go to the park and experience the magic that you have to pay for on top of your admission to the park.
A lot of Chapek would use this. Like he's like, what about that family from Colorado that's coming down to Southern California to visit the park? And like, yeah, but like now that everything is requiring reservations, people from out of town might not know that they have to make reservations for this. There are like the Blue Bayou is booked for months out. You know what I mean? So there's no just showing up to the park and like, oh, let's try this. or
Yeah,
like
and
let's
it's
just do it on the day of. Like you can't make that decision
see,
anymore.
I don't like that, and I like, but like I want to bring it back to what you said earlier about the the family from Colorado, right?
Right.
Like on the other side of the token is like, what about that family from Colorado who, whose dad makes 80,000 a year and mom, doesn't work, let's say, and he wants to take his family to Disneyland. He can't do that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, because everything's so priced out and everyone is priced out that you can't experience it with your family anymore unless you're rich, unless
Right.
you have the money.
Right.
Um, and I understand, I get it, like, try crowd control and all that stuff, but it doesn't sit right with me. And I feel like Walt's kind of spinning in his grave right
I
now.
know if like if they want crowd control, they literally could just turn it off. They literally like,
Easily,
oh, we're not
easily.
admitting people anymore, or they like turn it off for the pass holders. And then like we're only like for if you're coming in and buying like a 1 day ticket, you can come in.
Mhm.
And that's fine. That's understandable as a pass holder. Like I totally understand. That being said, there hasn't been that many times where we've like, oh, we wanted to go and it's booked. Like this this week especially, I've been trying to convince Dana to like let's not go to family for Thanksgiving and let's go to
Right.
Disneyland because I don't want to do dishes, I don't want to see people, I don't want to
Understand.
cook, I don't do anything.
I feel
Um, and then we were like, yeah, you know what? Screw it, let's do it. And then, but it was booked, so we couldn't do
Oh
it.
man.
Um,
But it's like rare though, right? Like you
yeah,
said, it doesn't happen very often.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best for the future now for Disney. I hope it becomes a manageable experience now, an affordable experience, at least as affordable as it can be. Just bring back the magic, man.
yeah, yeah.
That's all I want. That's all I care about. Like I'm a big, we're both, I just, Disney has been part of my life since I was a kid.
Same.
I remember, you're going to Disneyland when I was a kid, and like, I want to be able to take, my kids love Disneyland and the parks, and, when they have kids, take them to Disneyland and the parks, and I don't want it to be, I want it to be a fun experience for everybody. So I hope they keep that going.
Yeah.
Um, and I do hope that people go see Strange World, which comes out on Friday, on
Yes,
Wednesday.
it looks so good,
It
man. It
looks
looks great.
incredible. It
Yeah.
looks the animation looks beautiful. Everything just looks fantastic. And I think Disney's missing out on a huge opportunity to, they're always worried about, will little boys go see this? Will little boys go see Frozen? Will little girls go watch this Marvel movie or whatnot? But this is an opportunity. If you're going that route, you get little boys in there for this movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
this is a movie that kids are going to be wanting their parents to take them to go see.
Yep.
And it's one of those 4 quadrant movies that can attract everybody. So
Yeah.
my hope is that it does well,
We'll find
and
out.
we'll find out, man. We'll find out. But did you have any closing thoughts or closing
I
arguments
mean,
even?
when it comes down to it, as much as like I might complain about Chapek or like the direction that the parks have been going,
Mhm.
or even the studio, it's still magical, like, and I think that's what
It
Disney is
is.
always
It
going to
is.
have. It's like I can't say the same for like Knott's or Universal or Six Flags. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I think that's the difference between their park and everybody else. There's like
Right.
it's not even Thanksgiving, and I'm like super Christmas mode right now because of Disneyland. Like seeing
Right.
the tree and hearing the music and see like I love it. I love it. And I just want everybody to be able to experience it without having to jump through hoops to
Mhm.
get back into the park. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I also want to bring up to people watching, this is a brand new channel with some brand new stuff. We're gonna have a lot of cool content. We want to do, a lot of podcasts. We're gonna get into the vlogging world a little bit. We're gonna be doing a lot of cool stuff. So stay tuned. There'll be some big announcements coming up really soon. We're gonna be talking about kind of what we are and what our goals are with this thing. So we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. But for now, just have fun. Go to Disney. Go have fun. Go spend your money. Go, happy holidays. Happy
yes.
Thanksgiving. Go watch movies. Be with family. Have fun. And or don't be with family. Just go to Disneyland. Just do, whatever you want to do. That's totally cool. I feel that vibe. I'm 100% there. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for checking out the video. Yeah, and we will see you guys very, very soon with a lot
Yeah.
more cool content and stuff.
If
So,
you're new to the channel, which you probably are, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed
yes.
it. Hit the bell button if you really liked it. Don't forget to subscribe because
Yeah.
we've got more of this coming up and better stuff than this is still good, but
This is still no, I get you. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, man. It's gonna be awesome. All right, you guys have a good day. Have a good night. See ya.
bye.